Good morning, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to the second episode of the Pixel Almighty podcast. Hello, Ben.
Hello, Ben. Hello, Internet.
Hello. Hello, David.
Hello, fans.
Fans. I think there's about four of them. I think we should.
Yeah.
No, there's two hands worth now. There's two hands worth.
Oh, that's all right then. We'll call them like a troop. The Pixel.
Next week we'll need one of your hands to join in.
The Almighty troop. Anyway, how are we doing? How are you two doing? How's video games? Ben, how is video games?
Oh my God. There's so many pixels, Ben. I mean, that's what's so great about them.
Would you say there's an almighty amount of pixels?
I'd say there's an almighty amount of pixels, and when there isn't, there is somewhat less of them.
That is a shame. That is a shame. What about you, David? How many pixels would you say there have been this week?
There have been more pixels than usual. I've actually made a lot of time for games this week.
All right then. Well, let's go straight into it. David, what the hell have you been bloody playing?
Well, I've been going back to Battlefield 4, which I'm actually playing right now because the Naval Assault DLC has been out for a while, and I gotta say it's pretty cool because you can attack huge boats.
I mean, attacking humans with boats is always a good thing. So is it the big boats, little boats? Is it battleships? What's going on? Fill me in.
Huge aircraft carriers, and you just run onto them and take them over, and you've got jets flying everywhere, and there's islands to land on with boats, and it's basically just like sea-based DLC.
Because I've got the core Battlefield 4. Ben, have you got Battlefield 4 as well?
No, I've given it a good old play, but I didn't bother purchasing it.
Yeah, it's a solid. Is it now 100% working? Would you say, David? Is it the multiplayer not broken in any way?
Well, a lot of people like me played Battlefield 3 and we got Premium, and we loved it. We loved Premium, and we thought we'll get Premium for Battlefield 4 as well. And then, like you said, all these problems started coming, and I wouldn't say it's 100% fixed, but like the lag issues are gone, the hitbox issues are gone. All of the big things that made it unplayable have now been fixed. They're just like nitpick things left.
Yeah, I mean, I have enjoyed the multiplayer. It is fun, and I'm definitely looking forward to Hardline. I don't know. I know there was a PS4 beta floating around. Have you managed to get in on that at all?
I haven't gotten in on the beta, no, but I have seen like a gameplay on Twitch.
Yeah. I mean, for a while I thought that Battlefield Hardline was as close as I was going to get to another sort of Rainbow Six style game. Luckily, we have Rainbow Six Siege coming along, so I'm going to get the best of both worlds with the cops and robbers games.
Yeah, the reason they're doing Siege is because the old project was current gen, they said. So they've sort of scrapped it and said, okay, we're making the next gen.
See, I kind of like the look of Rainbow Six Patriot, I believe it was called when it first sort of came about, because they were going for more sort of a cinematic story type approach, which they seem to be taking with Battlefield Hardline now. So yeah.
I thought it was like, do you remember when what was his name? Splinter Cell Conviction first got showed? He was like looking like a hippie with his beard, and it was all quite sort of weird. It would have been closer to Watch Dogs, I would have thought, than Watch Dogs actually was. Yeah. But then they changed it to be like, oh, now you're Matt Damon, it's the Bourne Identity, and it's that kind of angle.
I mean, God knows, I played the crap out of Rainbow Six Vegas 1 and 2. I believe, did you as well, Ben?
Oh my God, yeah, the original.
I mean, they are the original like kings of FPS. They're just ridiculous, like bar none. Like I've never logged
Rainbow Six 3. Even back then, it was awesome.
I've never put that many hours into a multiplayer game since. Terrorist Hunt, just sublime, sublime. Well, so what else have you been playing this week, David? Apart from assaulting boats with other boats?
I've actually been playing a bit of Rust again on the PC because they've updated it, and I've also been playing a little bit of The Forest.
All right, let's start with Rust. I take it you, Mr. Hare, you know what Rust is, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, I've never played it. It's in the same vein as DayZ, but I've really liked both those games, but I just simply don't have a computer good enough to run it. I know that may sound stupid, but my laptop is old as balls. It can barely run this bloody Hangout. So yeah, David, what's been updated to Rust? Has it made it more player friendly, or are the other online participants still sort of psycho cannibals that just want to kill you?
It's the complete opposite. It's been made harder actually. They put durability on items, so they only last a certain amount of time now.
Yeah.
And generally, like, all the tweaks are to make it a little bit more survival-y, so it's even harder in that respect. Player-wise, yeah, it still hasn't changed. It's still, you know, the patrolling kind of spawn campers, that kind of stuff. But the forest is looking more towards what Rust was trying to do, which is get the survival aspect in.
Yeah, I haven't heard about the forest, so tell me about forest.
Basically the same as Daisy and Rust, except there's mutants involved, and you're surviving against mutants. You make a camp and you make traps and stuff, but exactly the same kind of stuff.
It's a tree surgeon simulator.
Yeah.
Wow, that's good. Good. And is it the best one out of all three in that sort of genre, or is it just a different spin?
It's more like a tower defense game than the other two. If you want to know which one's better, I'd probably say Daisy's still the one to watch.
Well, eventually we're meant to get it on consoles. Apparently, looking towards the end of the beginning of next year, maybe, according to like a recent interview with Mr. Dean Hall. But yeah, I will keep an eye out for it. It's always sort of interested me, and I've always found it really fascinating how sort of when you put people into those situations, especially online, like an anonymous situation, they just go fucking mental. They literally go fucking mental. They literally turn into full-on, like even the most normal person, put them online in that sort of survival simulator, they turn into a fucking psychopath.
It's all about like hoarding equipment and getting the best stuff, because then you'll be in a position to hoard more stuff and get more stuff from people who don't have as good a stuff as you.
Yeah, but still, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too old and cynical, but I like to help people. I'm not jaded.
No, I'm exactly the same. And I think because this is a new game genre, like it's a new category of games, I think this is going to be experimental for the next like year or two.
Because I mean, I've seen a few videos online of Daisy, and it's just depraved. Some of it. I mean, it's like full-on hostage simulations. You know, people with guns are turning up and taking people with hostage, without weapons hostage, and then they're hoarding them into like arenas to fight. It's literally full-on psychosis. It just boggles my mind.
At least you get kidnapped. In Rust, they just shoot you in the face and it's done.
Wow. David, not many people might know this about you, but you also do a bit of game developing on the side. So
I do.
How's that coming along? You know, it's interesting to see the perspective from a games player to a games developer and how you sort of differentiate stuff.
Well, remember how I said at the start that I made more time for games this week to play them? That kind of means I made less time to make them. So this week nothing's been accomplished.
Well, maybe a creative break is you, but you know, tell people about your game. Where did your concept for your game come from?
Concept for my game, I've called it Cooler World, which is K-O-O-L-E-R, Cooler World, and it's based on a PlayStation 1 game called Cooler World, but K-U-L-A, like cooler as in the animal.
Yeah.
And it was basically just you roll the ball around collecting gems and getting through checkpoints and obstacles and stuff like that. And it's kind of based on Marble Madness on the Mega Drive and the SNES, and very heavily based on Marble Blast Ultra, which was the launch arcade title for the 360, if you remember. I really liked that game. I never put money down for it when I first had the 360, but then after a month or two, like it was so addictive. That and Robo Blitz, I think, were the two first arcade games at launch. So I put money down for both of them in the end. But yeah, it's basically just a clone of that. You roll a ball around, you collect gems, and that's kind of it, because it's my first game on my own.
Okay, that's good to know. And is there like how is that coming along? Is it an alpha? Is it in beta? What's going on?
It'll be a Pixel Almighty exclusive for two days, and then I'll probably put it in alpha in a week or 2 weeks, and then beta in like a month after that, and then I'll release it sort of end of summer.
So what is your overall sort of build time for a game? I mean, what's your overall build time for this game?
This game is literally as soon as you've made the ball roll around and you've made a system where you can pick up gems and count them and like have a system where it says have you picked them all up. That only took about 2 weeks. So the game functions within 2 weeks, and you can roll the ball around, pick up objects, and complete the level, and it'll load the next level or whatever you tell it to do. But the actual game, like making levels, that's the meaty bit. That lasts as long as you want it to. But a level typically takes about 2-3 days.
Yeah. I suppose it's involved sort of. Do you start planning on paper and then sort of work that into the game, or do you just sort of go into the program and just go, I'm going to do whatever I want?
Personally, I find it easier to just go into a 3D program like Blender or Maya and just start shelling out with boxes a basic level, and then I'll play test with the boxes, and if I like the feel and the texture of where I'm going with it, then I'll start maybe draw some concept art and think, well, how do I want this to look? How do I want that bridge to look over there? Or, if there's like two boxes next to each other, are they crates? Are they barrels? I got to decide like what I want to put in their place, because they're just placeholders. It's like it's white boxed. It's a test level.
It's a very interesting to have your perspective on here, because you, like I said, you sort of see under games, whereas sometimes me and Ben, because we're just games players, we might just sort of see the top layer. You see, oh, actually, that's how this works.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like being a film critic. Once you become a film critic, you can't really sit down and just watch a film anymore. You're always like dissecting it.
Oh yes, I know that feeling. I had to untrain my years of media studies training, because otherwise it was just ruining films. There's just too much phallic imagery anywhere. Anyway, speaking of phallic imagery, Ben, what games have you been mostly playing this week?
Well, as you well know, Benjamin, I've been playing Max Curse of the Brotherhood, one of the titles.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Max Curse of Brotherhood, Games with Gold, free game for this month. How are you finding it?
Well, I finished it.
We did finish it.
Very short time, because it was bloody fun. And that is good for a free game. I mean, yeah, anyone that hasn't got that needs to quickly grab that, because I think they stop becoming free after the 2 weeks or whatever, don't they?
I'm not too sure. We're supposed to have to wait to see what happens. I'm not sure how sort of similar it is to the PlayStation Plus.
Yeah, I think that's what happened with the 360 ones though.
But Max, I was have you played the original?
No.
Like, the original is a Windows Phone game. Max and the Magic Marker.
I can tell it would benefit slightly from either a touch screen or probably a mouse would be the best for it, but it's best suited to a PC.
The controls are a bit sort of fiddly with
you get used to them. But to begin with, it's like, this is rubbish. It does take a little while to get used to it.
The main difference between the phone game and the sequel is in the phone game you could literally draw a line on the screen and drop it anywhere, whereas this one there's set points that you have to start from.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose.
Who do we lose?
And you have to have.
I think so, yeah. I'm still here.
Yeah, I can still hear you. Ben, are you still there? Ben appears to be frozen in the space-time continuum.
I'm assuming we're editing this bit out.
Yeah, we're gonna have to, aren't we? I'll put in a little jingle or something.
Technical difficulties, please wait.
Do.
And we're back.
Except we're not back, because Ben is still dead. I think his internet's gone exploded. Son of a penis.
Still recording though, right? Like, the hangout still.
We're still broadcasting, yes.
Yeah, that's okay then. Well, I got my Batley Who on, so that's alright.
Aye. The only problem is obviously the video cast is obviously a live show, so that It's not recorded. That is unedited. But the audio version can be edited.
This is their time.
So we're still going. So I guess I'm going to talk about Max and the Curse of the Brotherhood. So yeah, as I said, in the phone game, you could sort of drag and drop the bars where you wanted. In this one, there's sort of fixed points, which sort of...
So they're like objects and more than...
Yeah. It sort of simplifies the puzzles a bit, but not too much. There are some ones that actually you have to involve a little bit of thinking.
So is it like that? There was a DS game like that, wasn't there?
Yeah, it's probably the same game, if I'm honest. Same sort of...
It was.
You know, but for one thing, it looks really nice. It's got a really nice sort of cartoon style on it with like really smooth animations.
Right.
And yeah, like people always pushing, going, oh, the Xbox can't run 60 frames per second, can't run 1080. To be honest, you don't need to. As long as you make like interesting games or even good-looking games, the graphical fidelity, the frame rates, I don't give a hoot. I don't really. It's a war that I don't want to be in. That I feel like that I'm forced into. It's the war that's defining the early part of the consoles, isn't it?
Well, that's kind of what we experienced with the 360 and the PS3 when you think about it, because we reached the point where, like, okay, graphics have reached the peak of what we can achieve on this, so it's kind of like, okay, it's just Call of Duty and all these boring things, like, where's the new ideas? And I think that's the frustration that came out in the last gen towards the end.
Yeah.
Because maybe we got a bit too, dependent on old tricks.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so it's it's free at the moment, so I'd give it a shot. Well, give it a shot because it's free. What you got to lose? But the other game you get is Halo Spartan Assault, and to me that is not as good, if I'm honest. It's kind of a weird sort of Halo twin stick shooter, but it's not a twin stick shooter.
I got it on PC. And what I found weird about it was that it played exactly like a Halo game in terms of controls, but it was a top-down game instead of first person.
Yeah.
So it was trying to be Halo, but it wasn't Halo.
It doesn't really work, and it's really fucking hard. Like I was playing it with Ben over the weekend, and it was just ridiculous. We were just dying and dying and dying, and we weren't having fun. I don't mind dying if I'm having fun, but it was just difficulty for the sake of difficulty. Was just ridiculous. So yeah, give Max Curse of Brotherhood a go. Spartan Assault, you might as well download it because it's free, but I don't know if you'll get that much enjoyment out of it, even if you are a Halo fan like I am.
I was gonna say I'm a pretty die-hard Halo fan. I wasn't too impressed with it. And I paid £3 for it, so it was more or less free.
Yeah. So David, just while we're on the subject of die-hard Halo-ness, actually, we'll tie it in. Obviously, we've all had a week now to sort of dissect E3. So let's dissect E3. Give me your sort of general feel of the show. Was it better than last year?
I don't think you can compare it to last year purely because it was the new consoles and it was that kind of thing. And this year is all about the games. But I think if you compare it to other E3s that focused on sort of the year after the console games, like the 360 first E3 and stuff, I think it's the best one we've had for a while. And suddenly I want a Wii U.
Oh no! See, my friend went out and brought a Wii U after E3 as well.
Right.
But that was because of Mario Kart 8 and the promise of Zelda. And for some reason, and there are a few of you. He's a massive Dynasty Warriors fan.
Yeah, and
Zelda. He's literally got every single one. Obviously, Hyrule Warriors or whatever it's going to be called.
Yeah, that's it. I'm pretty hyped for
that. Yeah, I understand what you mean, how you can't really compare it to last year, but let's sort of break it down. Like, Microsoft last year did not come out strong. They come out with a message that was confused.
It was the all-in-one kind of media center thing, wasn't it? And when you're in a game show, it's the wrong message to be sending.
It confused a lot of people. It was, it was mixed messages, and they didn't have a strong sort of game lineup. It was a bit of a nightmare. Now this year they did exactly what I expected them to do. They came out and they showed games. They showed a solid amount of games, taking us from the latter half of this year to next year. We've got games, games, games. They didn't talk about any of the media crap or the TV stuff. That can come later. They had a solid amount of games. Nothing spectacular, nothing that blew me out of the water, but they just had decent games.
And more importantly, they've announced that the Kinect-less Xbox, because it's saving on the Kinect now, they got about 10 to 20% more processing power for games.
Yeah.
So that should close the gap a little bit. Like, put it this way, Bungie said they couldn't run Destiny at higher than 720p at 30 frames on the old Kinect Xbox, but now with the extra power, they can reach 1080p and 30 FPS quite comfortably.
So it is a good thing. And yeah, Microsoft, like I said, didn't blow me away, but you had Sunset Overdrive, you had new clips of Dragon Age and The Witcher, and new Crackdown. It's a solid amount of games for me to look forward to.
Crackdown was a nice surprise, I thought.
Well, they kind of dropped hints of it last year, so I was expecting it. Like I said, there was nothing. Actually, I think for the overall show at E3, there was nothing that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, not so soon.
Nothing surprised me. Nothing was. Sorry, nothing. Yeah, so nothing surprised me. But like I said, they showed good games. The entire show was good games. So yeah, Microsoft, they were on the back foot from last year. I think it's more sort of even now. They've still got places to go, but it is back to sort of an even fight between the two big dogs, Sony and Microsoft. So
well, if we go to talk about, if we talk about that feud for a second and go to exclusives, you've got Microsoft with a sort of Halo anniversary coming out, haven't you?
Yeah.
And then you've got PlayStation with Uncharted on the way.
See, how does that affect you, being a big Halo fan, knowing that they're getting the big Halo anniversary game set and obviously Halo 5? Does that mean you're going to get an Xbox One at some point?
It does mean that now, because Halo 2 will... If you were a PC gamer growing up in 2004 with online gaming, you were fine. You'd be playing Counter-Strike, you'd be playing, other things. But when you're a console gamer like I was, and most likely like you were, the only option you had for a decent Xbox online experience or console experience was Rainbow Six 3.
Yeah.
And then Halo 2 came along, and it was a complete game changer. So for me, I'll always have a soft spot for Halo 2.
Yeah, I totally understand. It was sort of one of the seminal multiplayer experiences. I remember going around someone's house and just playing it all day.
Yeah, it was. You could literally
ridiculous.
Play it forever. It was bigger than Call of Duty. Like, for anyone who wasn't playing Xbox Online in 2004, try and imagine Call of Duty times like 2 or 3. That's how big Halo 2 was.
Yeah, definitely.
To a ratio. Like, obviously, it didn't make as much money, and you can't statistically say that better.
Yeah.
But,
So, how did you find that Sony sort of fared this year?
A little bit poorer than I was expecting, actually. Like, I was expecting things like Uncharted to be coming out of their ears just from every direction, and it was pretty much only Uncharted that came out of their ears.
Yeah, it was obviously that they have a big indie initiative, and they did kind of push that. But all their really big hits, I mean, it is a coup they got Rockstar to come to E3, because Rockstar don't do the big shows. But I mean, that's still coming on Xbox One. Destiny had a big showing. That's still coming on Xbox One. Most of their sort of heavy hitters are also on the other platform. Like I said, apart from Uncharted 4, there wasn't really anything that stood out to my mind. Not because I'm more of a fan of Microsoft stuff than the Sony stuff, but that's just, to my mind, apart from Uncharted. If I'd be really bummed about Uncharted 4 if I didn't know there was a new Tomb Raider coming, but now I know there's a new Tomb Raider coming, I'm going to get my fix of adventuring.
And that's the thing now, because everyone said when Tomb Raider came out, they all compared it to Uncharted. I compared it to Uncharted as soon as I picked it up, because I just bought a PS3 at the time, and I was, catching up with stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've lost Metal Gear Solid now as an exclusive as well, because obviously that's multi-platform with the Fox engine. So when you start counting all the things Sony are losing to multi-platform, like even GTA, there's less reasons to be frightened if you're an Xbox One owner.
Granted, maybe the Sony's machine is technically the more powerful at this stage, but like I said, Microsoft obviously put down their money. Every big game, if it was cross-platform, there was some sort of content for. Microsoft spent a lot of money securing content.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's the
especially
best of
you know they've got multiplayer content for Battlefield Secured, for sorry, not Battlefield, Call of Duty, and then other games. You know, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They might not be they might not be the best at the moment, but they're gonna secure the key footholds. Like, to me, Xbox Live is synonymous with multiplayer gaming.
Yeah. You can't lose that sort of aspect of it.
Yeah,
You've got to push that alongside everything else.
The Xbox is my multi-person console. I'm playing multiplayer games on it. Whereas the PlayStation I always see as a bit more, I don't know, it seems more singular. I don't know.
Yeah, I've always felt the PlayStation has been like lovingly crafted single-player experiences, and then Xbox was the go-to Halo 2 multiplayer kind of. Like, Halo 2's always instilled that multiplayerness about it. It started the whole thing off. So I guess Xbox has always been home of multiplayer in that sense.
So what else do we have? So obviously EA and Ubisoft showed off some games. I don't know about you, but I was really impressed with Assassin's Creed Unity.
Incredibly, I didn't watch the trailer first because I thought it's just Assassin's Creed. Like I jumped out of Assassin's Creed after Brotherhood. Like Brotherhood was okay, but I thought, okay, I've had enough of this whole gameplay thing of jumping around and stabbing. Like it's getting a bit old. Yeah. I didn't play number 3. I'm downloading it now actually because of Unity hyping me up. But yeah, like I jumped out with 3, didn't even bother looking at Black Flag. But as soon as I watched the Unity trailer, just the French Revolution seems right for an Assassin's Creed game.
It's so when I saw that, it screamed to me, "This is next gen. This is what all those games that came before should be. This is what Watch Dogs should have been. Just the fluidity and the
physics of the cloth, like everything was just
and the crowd. I was like, this screams, we're in the new, and it looks great. You know, like I said, the multiplayer, the co-op looked good. It just all looked great. I mean, I played them all. 3 was a big downer. 4 was okay, but if you don't like boat stuff, and I really didn't like the boat stuff, that is like 70% of the game. It's not it's not great.
And that's the thing. Assassin's Creed is all about verticality and climbing stuff. Like at least the first 2 games were. So Black Flag was already on a low beat, trying to get the whole terrain thing down, which number 3 had a problem with.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, we had Ubisoft had The Division, which still looks cool. Yeah.
Amazing. Like Division is probably going to be my next favorite game.
I'm hyped, but I'm more now that I've played Watch Dogs. I'm also more pessimistic.
You're wary.
Because I've been burned with Watch Dogs.
Same with Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft again. I'm just like, Unity does look good, but I'm going to wait. I might not buy it day one. I might wait and see the reviews again.
Yeah, definitely. EA came out and did what they needed to do. They showed 2 seconds of Star Wars Battlefront, and if that's not enough to get you hyped, I don't know what is.
Probably the most realistic game I've ever seen, other than Project Cars on the PC, but that's not really a game.
We'll have to see, obviously, how it folds out and comes. It's never truly going to look like that. I mean, we're getting close, but at the moment we're not quite there.
And the thing is, like, we saw Watch Dogs, how good that looked at first, and how
exactly.
Like, there's been other games. Dark Souls 2 looked amazing, had to be downgraded. So again, we're all wary now. We're getting burned too many times by promotional material, which we had a discussion about on the last podcast, so we won't go into that.
Yeah, even obviously Sony's got Bloodborne as an exclusive, and I mean, as much as and it looks good. It's from Software, so it's going to play good. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, but it's not even though it's a Dark Souls-esque game, which is usually enough to me to warrant to buy it. I don't know. Maybe I'm feeling a little bit of fatigue at the moment.
Too much of the same again. It's becoming an Assassin's Creed deal.
Yeah, and I definitely don't want that from Software to become that. I think if Dark Souls ever got stale, it'd be a really great shame.
Because it's always stood out as one of those innovative games, isn't it? Like, it's difficult on purpose. It's not trying to be mainstream and sell units. It's always been its own thing. So to sell out and make another samey game, it would be a disappointment. Yeah,
definitely. So it was and obviously we had Nintendo showing off new Zelda, new Star Fox game, and a few other bits and pieces. I don't know. Nintendo's always weird, and not for the fact that I have sort of issues with Nintendo, but like that. But it's weird. I still find it really weird. They sort of make themselves a non-entity at E3.
Yeah, they feel different, as if maybe not privileged. I'm not saying they turn their noses up to it, but they certainly feel they're different enough that they don't have to be involved.
I mean, you know, it's a business show, but more than a game show. Well, it has been for a couple of years. It feels like it's starting to swing back the other way because I think the business side was starting to put people off.
Yeah.
But it's the big show for games of that year. It's really where you put your mark down and go, this is a direction for the next year.
Yeah, it's where you make your promises, it's where you make them publicly, it's where you show things off and people know what expectations to have for you for the rest of the year.
Exactly. And like, I don't know, I just feel like you should put your best foot forward.
Yeah, and perhaps maybe Nintendo's making the right move for them, but as a whole, like just in the industry kind of perspective of it all, maybe it was a mistake to sort of pull out from it.
I mean, obviously they still had a presence, they still had Smash Bros, which obviously looks great. But I don't know.
The tournament was great. Reggie said, I'm going to come back next year and kick all your asses. And that was the first time a Nintendo person has sworn on a broadcast, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, it's like I said, they're in their own little weird bubble, Nintendo. It's really quite odd. But, you know...
But that's part of the endearment, I think.
Yeah. So what has sold a Wii U to you now? So you're considering an Xbox One for your Halos. You're now considering a Wii U as well. What is coming that's got you considering that?
Well, I've always loved Mario Kart, so Mario Kart's been the kind of big thing that's pushing in my face, and they're like, buy me, buy me, buy me. And I'm like, okay, so Mario Kart, great. And then Super Smash Brothers, always been a fan. They said they've taken the mechanics back to how Melee used to be on the GameCube, so I'm obviously really hardcore on the Melee game more than the rest. So that's got me hyped. The new Zelda game, if it's going to be open world, it's going to be the first Zelda game to take the old NES approach of having an open world to explore, which will be interesting. And he was saying, you know, like mechanics, that the puzzles are going to be large scale. Like, it's not just a case of here's a room, solve the puzzle. The whole environment's the puzzle now. So how do I get over there when there's like a blockade over there, an army over there, and you know, a dangerous cavern that I have to like swing across over here? You know, you got to choose your approach and how you tackle things. That's got me hyped. And just in general, everything they were showing was just... Nintendo have always done their own thing, as I just said a second ago, and I think that's why I'm hyped for the Wii U for the next year or two, because they are going to do their own thing. They're not going to try and bring the best graphics to the table, the best, you know, whatever. They're just trying to make good games. Like you said, you buy your Wii because of your Marios and your Halo, your Zeldas, and you know, Animal Crossing and all that. I think that's... I want to go revisit some of that, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you know, Nintendo are good at making their own games. It depends how much you can sort of stomach essentially the same game over and over again. So, I mean, you look at it, fundamentally, Mario Kart 8 is the same as Mario Kart 1.
Yeah.
Just with a few different nuances. I mean, you can say that about a lot of games, but to me it feels like Mario Kart's just a stoic. They don't change. But maybe that's what people like them, and I can't deny that I have not had loads of hours of fun playing Mario Kart 64, because I have. But
the only thing that changed about Mario Kart really is the double dash one on the GameCube. We had 2 people. That's the only thing that's really changed.
I'm just not, you know, I'm not interested in jumping back in yet. If I put Mario Kart 64, Mario Kart 8, it's essentially the same stuff, just prettier and a few little tweaks to the gameplay, but nothing major. So, yeah, that's our sort of general thoughts on E3. You had some sort of other bugbear that you wanted to talk about, David, involving a Mr. Lannister.
Mr. Tyrion Lannister, yes. Well, as you know, the Destiny alpha's out, so people are giving Destiny a go.
Yeah. Have you had a play of that yourself?
Haven't had a play of it myself, no, but I have seen YouTube videos of it, and I've watched Twitch streamers play it, and it does look good. I think it is a Halo beta in the making. But the robot companion, I'm not sure, it's kind of like Claptrap in Borderlands. It's like your AI kind of companion.
Yeah.
And he's voiced by Peter Dinklage, who for most people will know as the character Tyrion Lannister in Game of Thrones,
Yeah,
which is very popular at the minute.
it is.
And he didn't give the best performance he's ever given voice acting wise. It sounds really stale, very forced, almost like he's reading the lines for the first time. And there's been kind of a controversial outlook on this, because everyone's like, well, Destiny's a huge budget game, they wouldn't just tell Peter, okay, go into this booth and read these lines, one at a time with no context. They must have given him some context. But some people are saying they're placeholders for the alpha. Some people are saying that there's meant to be a voice filter on top, like GLaDOS from Portal 2. Because if you listen to Portal 2's voice acting without the robot filters on, they're actually really dry and dull, and it's only when you add the filters on that it becomes personalized and has a style to it. In fact, GLaDOS used to speak in monotone. She learned how to speak in notes, and then when they added the filters on top, the voice would sound a lot more interesting. So maybe they're planning the same thing with Peter, maybe make his voice into a robot and add little glitches and beeps in there and make it interesting themselves.
I would assume so. I mean, I've seen bits and pieces. From what I heard, there wasn't much of an issue. It did sound like, obviously he's not Tyrion Lannister, which people got to expect. He's not going to be sort of feisty comebacks. He's playing an AI. So they are going to be
not the suave kind of...
Yeah, they are going to be cut and dry to the point. But yeah, I know what you mean. There needs to be personality. I mean, going back to Halo, I mean, Cortana, lover or hater, she had a personality.
Yeah, she was the first human-like AI that we've seen in the video game for a while, when she happened. That's why another reason Halo did so well, the first one, because it did something new.
Exactly. So I'm going to reserve judgment until the full game is out. It looks like it's going to be a good game. Is that Halo beta? Well, the makers of Halo, so they're going to be the people that know how to beat it.
Yeah, exactly. And see, the thing is, early access, alpha, all these things on, these early access games on Steam.
Yeah.
You can buy games before they're done.
Yeah.
This is the problem with doing this, is when you see a game in development, there's going to be huge bugs, huge issues, there's design flaws, there's things that aren't finished yet. If you're paying for an early access game, I think you should be reserving all criticism, unless it's helping towards finishing the development. Yeah. I think you should reserve all final criticism until the game is actually released as a retail product. But as long as it's an alpha or beta, I don't think anyone can have a huge opinion.
Yeah. I have an issue with paying for alphas or early access, because some of them on Steam are just ridiculous. I know sort of Mr. Jim Sterling of the Jimquisition, which is a good show, talks a lot about that stuff, but it's just like paying like 20 quid for going into a broken game and paying 20 quid for a game you knew was broken. It just boggles my mind.
And that is the problem. Like, as you said, it's broken. It's not ready yet. I understand. It's the indie movement that started this all, obviously, because Kickstarter became a thing, and then other places started to copy and follow in its footsteps, and now we've arrived at the Steam Greenlight kind of thing.
Yeah, it's people going, I've got an idea for a game. I've made the first level. I'll release this early access and use that money to build the rest of the game.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think
except for 95% of the time, they don't do that.
Yeah.
And they just run off with your money, which is ridiculous. But yeah, it's an odd subject. It's we could argue about it all day. But
it's
to be honest,
not something you can tackle in a podcast anyway.
No, definitely not. But I think we sort of dissected E3. We've talked about Mr. Dinklage. We've talked about what we're playing. I think we can call it a day. So thank you very much for listening or watching this episode 2 of the Pixel Almighty podcast. I've been Ben. This has been David.
I just kind of nodded there, but I realised audio only. I should probably say
Audible nod. And
audible nod.
Ben Hayho, Mr. Hayho is gone as well. I'll probably go shoot him and buy him some new internet. But yeah, we're Pixel Almighty. You can find us on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, all at that name. We've even got a little gaming newspaper that appears on our Facebook. Not on our Facebook, on our Twitter. So check that out as well. We've got all sorts of the hot tips and news stories for you to look at. We're all over the show. Make sure you like us, subscribe us. We're on SoundCloud. You know, tell us to your friend, tell us to your mum. We'll do bar mitzvahs, weddings, funerals. We'll do what we can to get ahead. We'll have more videos coming at you. It's going to be good. It's a good start. Okay, goodbye, David.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, audience.